Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to a fiery episode, Flames and Torment, of unique items, because we're going over the Salamanders. That's right, the Salamander Battle Staff. The Salamander Battle Staff is an absolutely excellent low-level staff for a Sorceress, and the reason is because it is specifically pointed at a Fire Sorceress. Much like the Leaf Staff, which is a rune word, the Salamander Battle Staff has almost identical effects. If we were to look at them side by side, you would see that the only real differences between a Salamander Battle Staff and a Leaf Staff is that, number one, the Leaf Staff is customizable, so you could obviously find a very specific base with very specific skills, and the Leaf Staff also has +3 fire skills instead of only +2. Also, I do feel like the Salamander Battle Staff has better choices for those skills. So, for instance, whereas the Leaf is plus Firebolt and Inferno, which nobody tends to use, Firewall and Fireball are much better than Firebolt and Inferno. Now, granted, if you find a perfect Leaf base, which may take you forever, or you might find it in 2 seconds looking in the vendor shop, it really depends on your luck, you could potentially outclass the Salamander in quite a few ways. Like, for instance, you could end up with a very nice +3 Fireball, or like +3 Hydra. You could even eventually get one with +3 Fire Mastery if you were really dedicated. But the chances of you getting a perfect Leaf base are pretty slim to none. I know I've hunted for them for hours and failed miserably. And then sometimes I will literally just find one randomly while I'm playing a Paladin or a Necromancer or something. And I will just go ahead and throw the Leaf rune word in there because, well, I mean, why not? And then I hand it to some little low-level Sorceress. Literally, you know, it's glowing and sparks are shooting off of it, and the Sorceress takes it and, like, freaking goes Super Saiyan. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And then just, like, run around normal difficulty, just murdering everything. But, the Salamander Battle Staff represents a much easier to obtain version of the Leaf Staff. Usually I end up finding quite a few Salamander Battle Staffs in my level up process, and quite honestly, if you are a Fire Sorceress, it's an absolutely excellent choice. It's +2 fire skills, as you can see. It has 15 to 32 fire damage, which is kind of a moot point, but in the lower levels, it could be useful to bonk some things, especially if you're like an Enchant Sorceress or something. And then we get Firewall and Fireball, so +1 Firewall, +2 Fireball, and +3 Warmth, which makes a grand total of +3 to Firewall, +4 to Fireball, and +5 to Warmth, which is going to be an absolutely excellent amount of regeneration. As you guys know, Warmth is the skill that allows you to regenerate faster. The downside of Warmth is that if you don't have a relatively large mana pool, it doesn't really do very much for you. So in the lower levels, when you have relatively no mana, Warmth is actually kind of useless. A lot of people don't know this about Warmth. Like, they literally will just drop as many points as they can in Warmth and then still complain about the fact that, hey, I'm not regenerating fast enough. But the thing about Warmth is you need more mana to regenerate quicker. And at a low level, if you can get your hand on something like the Salamander Battle Staff, which will increase your regeneration, the next thing that you should probably do is drop a couple sapphires maybe into a helmet or an armor, specifically to beef up your mana pool. The larger your mana pool gets, the faster your mana pool will regenerate, and it will fix the overall issue of your mana problems in the early levels. In the later levels, as you level up, you actually gain mana per level. And of course, you could also put a couple points in energy early on, which actually does help you out a ton in those early levels. But basically, you eventually get to the point where your mana pool is fine, and even utilizing things like, you know, Soges or you know, things like Silk Weaves, you can increase your mana pool even further, which will have a pretty drastic effect on your mana regeneration. And that's important to keep in mind when you're talking about an item like the Salamander, because it's not going to fix all of your mana regeneration issues by itself, but it will be a very valuable tool to get it done. And the real beauty of this particular staff is just that you can put it on, use it for normal difficulty, maybe a little bit into nightmare difficulty on your Fire Sorceress, and then you can just move on. It's not really that big of a deal, and Firewall actually is useful on just about any Sorceress, and this will give it to you for free. The reason why Firewall is useful on any Sorceress is exactly the same reason we were just talking about Warmth. So every single Sorceress is going to put at least some points into Warmth, especially at an early level. And having access to basically a synergized, leveled up version of Firewall for free, even if you're a Lightning or a Cold Sorceress, can come in handy in certain situations, especially underneath of a boss's butt. Like if you're, you know, if you're standing there and you're fighting Diablo or Bale or something like that, and you just put a Firewall underneath of them, they're not going to be going anywhere, not for the most part anyway, and they get to burn while you're shooting them with your ice or your lightning or whatever it is you're doing. Even if you're a Fireball Sorceress, for instance, you can utilize this very easily to have Fireball on your left click, and you can have Firewall on your right click. And you can be shooting off your fireballs and putting fire right underneath of their anus the entire time while you're, you're having fun. Right click, Firewall, boom, 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 Firewall, boom, boom, boom. Of course, these guys are immune to fire, which does me no good in hell difficulty. Which is one of the biggest issues with fire damage in general, is that once you get to hell difficulty, you realize that fire, like everything is immune to fire. Like literally everything. And it's probably a good thing that the Salamander Battle Staff is not a nightmare or hell difficulty item. It's a normal difficulty item, and there's practically nothing in normal difficulty that's not immune, that is immune to fire. In fact, Andariel and Duriel are both weak to fire. So Act 1 and Act 2, this thing actually kicks law, but unfortunately you can't really use this until Act 2, but you could use this to kill Andariel pretty effectively. Let's take a look and see where you could potentially find a Salamander Battle Staff if you want to get your hands on one. We're going to go over to Silo's pen real quick. And man, my shirt's all sparkly. Why is my shirt all sparkly like that? Looks like I'm, kind of looks like I'm an old TV set, and I got like static. I got like static on me, like an old TV set. It's pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Alright, so the Salamander Battle Staff bosses. We're going to go to normal difficulty. We're going to say about 50% magic find, because I feel like that's fair considering the level of this item. And it looks like normal Diablo and normal Bale can both drop it with pretty good chances there. Iswal can actually drop it too at 1 in 10,000. And for super uniques, Grand Visor of Chaos, Infector of Souls, Lord Deceased, they can all drop it. Of course, if you're farming Diablo, then that is going to be a good choice. Shank can drop it, Eldritch, Doc Farron, Frozenstein, Pindle, Thresh Socket. Pretty much all the normal farming options, to be honest. I mean, this, like, if you're any kind of low-level character who's just trying to get yourself a piece of equipment and you just want to try and make your Sorceress a little bit stronger, some of the easiest monsters in the game to farm are Shank, Eldritch, Doc Farron, Pindle, and Thresh Socket. This little combination right here is like the most effective combination for early tier farming, like in the game, just simply because, number one, they're so easy to get to. Number two, you're a Sorceress, so you can teleport to them if you need to. Doc Farron is in the middle of the siege zone. In fact, you know what? Let's go just really quickly, since this is going to be a short video anyway. Let's take a look at the route that you would take to do this farming. So the first thing you would do, obviously, is you could kill Pindle. He really doesn't matter all that much. You can either kill him first or you can kill him last. In fact, let me do this in normal difficulty so I don't make a fool out of myself and die. This character's not, she is not fully equipped or anything. She's just here for testing purposes. So let's throw the Salamander Battle Staff on. Let's put our teleport and our fireball on. And let me show you kind of like the farming route that you would take. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Heragroth. You're just going to run through the portal, and you're going to kill Pindleskin. Now, if you don't have access to the portal at this time, I mean, that's fine. You don't have to kill this guy. He's just a really easy one to kill. And then you're just going to rush in here and murder him real quick. And if he doesn't drop it, that's fine. The next thing you're going to do is walk straight outside of the front door. Yeah, you're not going to take a waypoint. It's actually slower to take the waypoint. So you're going to take the main gate here, and you're just going to teleport straight down. You just hold your mouse right here at the edge of the screen. It doesn't matter. And when you get to this skinny part right here, this is where Doc Farron lives. Doc Farron is always right here. And you see we got an amulet from him. And then you're going to teleport all the way back up because there's no reason to go back to town. And then you're going to kill Shank, who's at the top of the little area right here. No, come here, Shank the Poopy Seer. You know what, let's put a little bit of Firewall into action. I was talking about that earlier. You get your Firewall and your your Fireball working at the same time. Works really good. And you kill Eldritch. That was Eldritch, by the way. Eldritch is now dead. Now, the last one, you can either take the waypoint or you can teleport. It actually doesn't matter. But what you want to do is you want to go to Ariat Plateau. And then you're going to teleport right up here, and you're going to kill Thresh Socket, who's right by the waypoint. He's not always by the waypoint because the waypoint changes locations. And then there you go. That's your little combination there that actually works really well for magic finding. You do Pendle, Doc Farron, Shank, Eldritch, and then Thresh Socket. 5 super unique kills really fast. And if you really want to tag on one more before you leave the game, and another easy one is Hephaesto. I always call him Hephaestus, but his name is not Hephaestus. His name is Hephaesto. Hephaesto is a little bit harder to find. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. And Hephaesto is at the Hellforge, obviously. So... And if you wanted to tag him into the list, I mean, he's an option. He does drop some pretty good items, and he's not exactly particularly hard to kill. Now, the Salamander does have some other weird uses, which it could come in handy for. It could be useful for an early Fireclaw Druid. With the +2 to fire skills and the additional fire damage, you could potentially use this on a low-level Fireclaw Druid if you wanted. I'm not exactly sure how potentially amazing it would be, but it's a possibility. Another option could be if you found this on like a low-level Fire Druid. +2 fire skills is really all you're going to get from that with the fire resistance, but it's not bad either. It could be useful for a little while until you find yourself some better items, like maybe a Hex Fire. Like a Wall of the Eyeless, you make yourself a Spirit or whatever the hell's going on. This is the kind of staff that you can just hang on to, and you can potentially see whether or not it's going to be useful to you. Its best use, though, is definitely on the Sorceress. A Barbarian Amulet. A Barbarian Amulet. Alright, guys and gals, I think I've covered the Salamander Battle Staff enough, and as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos. Even when we are talking about a sneaky little salamander that burns things as he walks around. And, if you want to keep watching, be sure to hit that subscribe button.